dear viewers, to Eerie Echo Productions, where stories come to life in the most hauntingly beautiful ways. I am your guide through the realms of imagination, and today we embark on a journey deep into the heart of the ancient forest, where shadows dance and dreams intertwine. In the moonlit corridors of Sleep Haven Clinic, where reality and nightmares blur, our tale begins. Brace yourselves as we unravel the enigmatic connection between haunted souls and delicate spirits. Their story, one whispered in the hushed tones of the wind, is a testament to the courage that thrives even in the darkest corners of the mind. Join me as we delve into the depths of fear, confront the shadows of the past, and witness the triumph of the human spirit. I am Eerie Echo Productions, and this is Dreamweavers, where reality meets the ethereal, and where every echo holds a secret waiting to be revealed. In the heart of the ancient forest stood the Sleep Haven Clinic, its time-worn facade shrouded in mist, echoing with whispers of forgotten nightmares. Dr. Evelyn Harper, an enigmatic researcher with eyes that held the secrets of 1,000 dreams, presided over a group of insomniac patients. Among them was Samuel, a man tormented by his past, and Sarah, whose gentle demeanor masked the storm within. One fateful night, the moon hung low, casting eerie shadows across the clinic's halls. Samuel awoke, his heart racing, feeling Sarah's fear echoing through his veins. Their nightmares had woven a bridge between their souls, blurring the lines between reality and the subconscious. In the dim corridor, Samuel found Nurse Emily, her eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation.
"Nurse Emily, something otherworldly is at play,"
Samuel said, his voice carrying the weight of the unknown.
"Sarah's fears have become mine. We are bound by a link that defies logic and reason."
Nurse Emily, wise and intuitive, nodded solemnly.
I've sensed it too. There's a force here, ancient and potent. We need guidance from Dr. Harper.
In Dr. Harper's office, an atmosphere charged with anticipation hung in the air. Samuel, Sarah, and their fellow patients were not mere insomniacs. They were conduits to a dimension where nightmares bled into wakefulness. As nights turned to endless nights, the shared nightmares deepened, revealing the darkest corners of the patients' minds. Within the nightmare realm, Samuel and Sarah found themselves in a labyrinthine maze of dread. Shadows twisted and writhed, whispering long-buried fears and regrets.
We can't let the fear control us.
Sarah declared, her voice unwavering amid the darkness.
Our pasts may haunt us, but they also hold the keys to our resilience.
Samuel met her gaze, determination burning in his eyes.
"Together, we face these shadows. Our connection is a beacon of hope, not a curse. It unites us against the encroaching darkness."
In the heart of the nightmare realm, they confronted the entity, a specter born from the amalgamation of the clinic's deepest fears. Its voice echoed like distant thunder, taunting their resolve.
"You are shards of broken souls, entwined in a web of nightmares. I am your deepest fear."
Samuel and Sarah exchanged a glance, their shared determination reverberating through the nightmare.
"Our fears may persist,"
Samuel retorted, his voice unyielding.
"but we won't succumb. Together we stand strong."
Their battle with the entity escalated into a symphony of bravery. It was a struggle that transcended the boundaries of mere dreams. With each act of defiance, the nightmare realm trembled. Samuel, Sarah, and their fellow patients fought valiantly, their collective strength weakening the entity's grip. The very fabric of the nightmare began to unravel, and the entity's malevolence dissipated like smoke in the wind. In the gentle light of dawn, Samuel, Sarah, and the others awoke, their shared ordeal fading like a vanquished ghost. The clinic, once haunted by fear, stood as a testament to their courage and unity. In the aftermath, a profound silence settled, the echoes of their triumph resonating through the Sleep Haven Clinic. In the quiet moments that followed, Samuel, Sarah, and their companions found solace in their shared victory. Dr. Harper, observing them with a mixture of awe and pride, spoke softly.
"Wow. You've proven that even the darkest nightmares can be dispelled by the light of unity and courage.
Nurse Emily, her eyes filled with admiration, added,
Your shared strength not only conquered your fears, but also forged an unbreakable bond. The Sleep Haven Clinic will forever bear witness to your triumph over terror.
As the sun bathed the world in golden light, the patient's once fractured souls emerged from the shadows stronger and more united than ever before. The shared nightmares had transformed them, molding them into Dreamweavers, guardians of the human spirit against the encroaching darkness. As we approach the end of our journey together, I, Eerie Echo Productions, want to extend my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you. Your presence here has added a layer of magic to our storytelling, turning words into whispers that echo in the corridors of the imagination. Thank you for allowing me to guide you through the enigmatic connection of haunted souls and delicate spirits, through the twists and turns of Dreamweavers. Your curiosity and open hearts have made this tale come alive in ways that I could only dream of. Remember, the echoes of this story linger, and its lessons are timeless. May you carry the courage of Samuel, the strength of Sarah, and the wisdom of Nurse Emily with you in your own adventures. Until we meet again in the realms of imagination, I am Eerie Echo Productions, bidding you farewell with gratitude as boundless as the universe itself.
There was once a city on the coast of Oregon called Wolf View, but something happened to it. I'm Mark, a detective working in Seattle, Washington, which isn't very close to where the city used to be. The spot on the Oregon coast where Wolf View should be shows no sign of a city. However, certain evidence related to me makes me 100% certain this place isn't a myth, or what some would call an old wise tale. Even though the location where the city is supposed to be is currently the location of the Siuslaw National Forest. I only ever started hearing about this when an unmarked grave site was rumored to be discovered by some local tourists. The tourists claimed to have found a severed hand while backpacking. When the tourists were brought in for questioning, they described it as the right hand of a teenage girl, and the fingernails apparently had purple nail polish on them. After running some tests, it was revealed that the hand belonged to a missing child named Samara. She had been missing for 2 years, and I don't know how her hand could have been found so far away from where she was last seen. Portland, Oregon. Once the police collected all the information from the tourists that they could get their hands on, the police led me and my apprentice to the location where they had found the severed hand. By the time we arrived, it was already past sundown, there was light rain, and you could even see the Big Dipper along with the Little Dipper. As we walked into Siuslaw National Forest, I saw something. A foot, and next to it the police found Samara's backpack, water bottle, and a tape recorder. The second my apprentice saw the foot, he took out a trash bag and vomited into it. What we saw, there was no explaining it. Sure, it was a foot, but something was wrong. Some toes were like a wolf's paw, other parts of the foot were human, It was as if it was halfway through some sort of transformation. There weren't any medical professionals nearby, so there wasn't any way to tell what we were looking at. When we took the foot and the belongings back to the station, we opened the bag and didn't find much except for photos, a water bottle and a phone. We took the tape recorder to a private room and were going to play it, not knowing what to expect. After all, it had rained just a few days ago, and the recorder could be damaged, have nothing on it, or just be a toy. However, we were stopped by a new task from the police. Sure, this new task could have waited till later, but the tape recorder would still be available later.
Sir,
One of the police said,
we'll have to send a search party back to the forest tomorrow. After all, we can't let bystanders accidentally come across any more of the body first. Who knows how they'll react?
"Okay," I replied. "I'll come with you when you leave." A week later, we finally made it back to the forest. It took us so long to get there due to a few delays from the police. The only other thing we found was a pair of footprints. The way the footprints were angled and shaped indicated that whoever was running must have tripped while running. They could have ran away from something, or they could have been running towards something. Who knows? It's not like there were any security cameras nearby. Especially in a massive forest such as Siuslaw National Forest. We took the body parts we recovered to the morgue, and the trail ran cold with that. When we finally got to listening to what the recorder had, we sat down and played it. Here's the recording on the tape. Please email me if you know of any survivors, evidence, or the location of anything that might help us. This is the recording.
Name's Alice. Around a decade ago, a new theme park opened up and I wanted to go. My parents told me no, but I kept insisting we visit it. Eventually, my parents cracked like they always did. We took a taxi to the city of Wolfview. And on the road, the taxi driver told us about some old folklore. Apparently, the town had a culture that evolved around werewolves. All superstition, if you ask me, although my cousins believed in it all. Though it doesn't matter because my cousins, parents, aunts, uncles, and grandparents, they're all gone now. Anyway, let me explain. It all started on November 18, 2010. We arrived in Wolfview at 6 a.m. solely to get ahead of all the lines. The weather wasn't great, it was dry and cold, which is pretty much the worst weather in my opinion. I didn't bring a winter coat, which I instantly started regretting when we got out of the taxi. My parents couldn't stop talking about costs, budgets, bills, taxes, and rent. You see, my immediate family is in a financial struggle and our personal situation isn't horrible. But it's bad enough that we need a budget. Sadly, my mother and father have asked our cousins for money a few times, and to be fair, our financial problems aren't atrocious. They could easily be fixed completely if just one relative was willing to help. However, my relatives are trash. Not a single relative would help out, and they'd even make fun of us. Though, surprisingly, they all agreed to come to the theme park with me and my parents. I was thrilled to hang out with my cousins all day, after all. It's the adults who are at each other's throats, not us. When I met up with my cousins for the first time in a while, we ran off to go on some rides, and we were all having a blast until something changed. I felt a weird, uncontrollable sense of dread washing over my body like a gust of wind. I shook it off, assuming that it could just be another case of my terrible quality instincts. A nice note, I've always trusted my intuition over my instincts because they're always more helpful and reliable. I looked around to get a peek at my cousins and they were all there. Except for one. Timmy was gone. I called out, nothing. Timmy had seemingly vanished into thin air. Then a sudden awful stench filled the entire theme park. A few people even left in disgust. Flies started filling the food trucks, causing employees to run out, and I even heard a few people start screaming. I didn't know what was happening, just that people were upset for some reason and that one of my cousins disappeared. My intuition told me to keep an eye on my little cousin Eva. I grabbed her hand and pulled her close to me, knowing full well that I wasn't going to let her disappear like Timmy did. A siren started to echo in the distance, and some people even started running away. I didn't understand. No proper words could describe every emotion I felt in that moment. I held Eva even tighter and noticed something. All my other cousins had vanished too. Then it hit me, they chose to abandon us. Now, I understood that all of my family was in a pickle and that even a few of them were at each other's throats. Hell, I've even overheard one talking to himself, contemplating how he could take care of some of us. That relative in particular is one I don't look at in the eyes anymore. Though I didn't think any relatives hated me, let alone Eva. Eva was too young to understand what was going on, but technically so was I. After all, I didn't even fully understand what was happening until I saw something strange. There were weird shadows that were clearly coming from figures around the corner, and it looked like people were running from them. Then suddenly a woman came around the corner and started running in a panic. Then I saw it, and Eva saw it. For at least a second, I covered her eyes because no toddler should have to see what this thing was. What came next was some sort of creature. Too big to be a dog, too wide to be a wolf, a werewolf. It charged at the nearest person and pinned them to the ground. Well, I'll never forget the last look on the face that would no longer belong to the women that the animal tackled to the ground. I watched as the horrific sight unfolded. That thing. That animal ripped that poor woman's intestines out. First the liver, then the lungs, and even the heart were ripped out of that innocent woman's insides. Then I watched in horror, holding Eva's eyes shut with my tightening grip. That dog bit the woman's head, and I couldn't even look. However, I did hear a snap. Eva, we're leaving. I saw the disappointment on Eva's face grow as I said that.
But the rights.
We'll get to those some other time. Let's go. I grabbed Eva's hand and started running to the nearest bus. All I could do is think about the fact that our family actually abandoned us. When we got on the bus, there was still some room, but this driver selfishly turned the ignition on and drove off, even though we could have easily fit an extra 10 people with us. I watched in horror as I saw more of those animals shred people into pieces like a sheep going through a paper shredder. Human beings were being treated like a turkey on Thanksgiving. As the bus drove away, I watched in dismay. As a few small fires were beginning to start, screams grew louder and people made failed attempts to run away. Then the most noticeable thing happened. The lights in the streets, buildings, and on the poles all turned off. It was a massive power outage.
Oh my god.
Eva spouted out.
Those dogs are huge.
I looked in the direction of what Eva referred to and saw a massive pack of what could only be described as werewolves. I looked up at the sky and realised that it was dark out, and there was even a full moon. I couldn't believe it. Werewolves are supposed to just be a myth, but there they were. There were crowds of people running into the forest. Right behind them were those werewolves. Those animals were clearly hungry, and it looked as if they would bite some people and then run off after others, leaving the ones they spared to transform and become one of them, as if they had the whole thing planned out. Then the worst thing could have happened. Not more werewolves or any violence, no. The bus ran out of fuel. Because of this, we had to head all the way back to the theme park, where there might be some gas left over. When we got back, the bus driver shared something shocking. The GPS no longer worked on his phone. Not only that, but the bus driver even saw that the highway was cut off. Along with that, there weren't many people left in the theme park. Me and Ava went looking for our relatives. Me for my parents and Ava for hers. We found nothing. It was as if our parents disappeared. Even our other cousins were gone. There was no way to comprehend what was going on. Until recently, just about everyone around the world understood the idea that werewolves were just a myth. But now they were real and larger, stronger, faster, and smarter than anyone would want to believe. It's been weeks since they've attacked. They haven't come back, though nearby footprints, smells, and animal corpses is enough evidence to conclude that they're close. The people who were bitten, though not eaten, seem to have developed new traits. Stronger smell, changed taste buds, new cravings, and a few of the bitten even regained their hair after boarding. The theme park was turned into a sort of village extension for Wolfview. There's no access to civilization other than the city of Wolfview. No explanation either, though there are still lots of animals for people to hunt, and there's even been an increase of professional hunters in the area. For food gathering, of course, and never for sport. That's been outlawed in town. Most kids who got separated from families have been evenly distributed amongst survivors, but I refuse to be separated from Eva, and she feels the same. Due to this, we've been essentially living under a rock until I turn 18 and can take the responsibility as her guardian, so she won't be sent away. These weren't the only events that happened. A few people managed to get their hands on a drone and flew it to the edges of the roads. The second the drone crossed over, it froze in midair. Then when no one would pay attention, it would disappear. After a few failed attempts of taking a look outside the city, other issues arose. The survivors who were bit by those werewolves started acting differently. They developed aggressive tendencies, murder, disappearances, and crime arose. Everyone accused the bitten, an agreed upon nickname for survivors who got bit, of committing the crimes. No matter how the bitten pleaded, defended their actions, or fought back, it always ended the same. The bitten were banned from the city and forced out, never to be seen again. At least that's what we hoped for. As the years stretched on, some people called this town that they were only visiting their new home. Others called it a personal hell, and some even started forgetting their past lives. The most interesting and important change was what people saw when they finally decided to venture out into the woods without their tech. Without technology, it was incredibly dangerous to go into the forest. The people were starting to run out of medicine for sick families themselves and those alone. Some people claimed to have made it to the outside world. Others claimed to have seen those werewolves again, and some even claimed to have run into the bitten. After these journeys into the forest, only one thing became clear. Not everyone could be trusted. What if the people who claimed to have seen the bitten got bit themselves? Or what if the people who claimed to see the outside just wanted to lure people into the woods and steal their supplies for themselves? Or worse, what if the people who claimed to have seen the werewolves had some sort of plan to overthrow the people in charge of town? Regardless, I've been making sure that Eva and I only allow a few trustworthy new friends to know about our presence. A few weeks after the journeys into the forest and the rumours about them died out, some troubling things started happening. Remaining cars, bikes, hoses, power lines, and even a few windows started getting smashed, bashed, and crashed into things or each other. The cords had almost perfectly clean slashes through them. And the tyres of bikes, motorcycles, cars, vans, buses, and even trucks were almost all slashed. It was as if the werewolves were trying to make us as vulnerable as possible. It got so awful that I had to turn myself and Eva over to the police for protection. After all, we had no one else and nothing else to go to. The police understood my reasoning for hiding Eva, especially after telling them what happened to our family. They took us to some people that we informed the police about, a woman named Claire who helped us while we hid on the streets. After a few more months, when I was finally 18, Claire suggested to the city that I be sent into the forest as a last-ditch effort to find the outside world. I never wanted to do this, nor did I even joke about the idea. He'd be damned if I left Eva here. I grew increasingly suspicious of Claire as she continuously encouraged me to agree to the idea. At one point I had enough and yelled at her in public. I guess some girl named Samara heard all the commotion, because she volunteered to go into the forest instead of me. When she did such, I saw Claire's face change, as if she had planned something and her plan had just failed. I gave Samara my tape recorder in hopes that it would reach the outside world. If you're listening to this, then it means Samara made it, or at least got close. We need your help, Mark.
Hey, it's